Greetings and salutations, everybody. Do I have something special for you today? The Colt Detective Special, the most iconic movie and TV snub ever of the cops and robbers genre. In fact, it was the very first snub ever. I'll be handling it in a bit, but wanted to give you a look-see outside here. I do have shooting footage. I might edit some in. I might make a separate video later, depending on how long I talk, but it's good to have a lot of old friends that are retired cops and been there and done that types, including defensive gun use. The Colt Detective Special was the very first snub. There was Fitz Specials before that, but the very first production snub. First gens ran from 1927 to 1946. Second gen from 1947 to 1972. Third gen from 1973 to 1986. And they kind of brought back a fourth version, fourth gen from 1993 to 1995. Now this was a steel frame 6-shot, either 32 or 38 special revolver, and it's just barely a hair thicker than the 5-shot J-frames, and it's a bit easier to fire accurately and quickly, especially if you have larger hands like me. Has an extremely awesome, very smooth trigger, 21 ounces. So one of my old retired friends let me borrow this and another rare 6-shot snub everyone forgot about that are easier to shoot than their 5-shot brethrens. There was agents and Cobras later on with a lighter alloyed frame. But before we take a more closer look, this was the most iconic movie and TV snub ever. Being an actor and stuntman myself, not sure how much longer I'm going to keep doing that. But it's, the iconic guys that have held this, and this is the third gen with the shroud, which I prefer both from an aesthetic standpoint as well as practical standpoint. The third gen is when they started shrouded, and it has the thicker grips that are more easier to handle and control than the thin grips that came on them earlier, or the thin Smith & Wesson grips. But this was used by icons like James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, Paul Newman, Sean Connery, Charles Bronson, Gene Hackman, Harvey Keitel, Tommy Lee Jones, Christopher Walken, Willem Dafoe, Gary Oldman, Samuel L. MFing Jackson, Harrison Ford, John Travolta, Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, John Malkovich, Mario Van Peebles, who I met once years ago at UFC, and his son does jiu-jitsu, Tom Selleck, who I literally bumped into once, Tom Hardy, and also on TV, many iconic shows, including the beautiful Farrah Fawcett, and on The Walking Dead, multiple people. But if Carol says, look at those flowers, guys, you better run. This was Jim Cirillo's New York reload to his K-frame. Many of the more serious guys that expected trouble back in the day carried this as their backup weapon and off-duty weapon because it used the same speed loaders as their K-frames. Now, a lot of guys couldn't afford the more expensive Colt, so they did carry Smith & Wesson J-frames. But notice the guys that expected a lot of trouble carried this because it was easier to fire, easier to control, and used the same speed loaders. Okay, guys, before we kind of move it around, I'll shine it just a little bit, and then we're going to head inside to take a more closer look. All right, hold on. All right, welcome back, everybody. Excuse me. Please thumbs up, share, subscribe, guys. Looking at these Colts here, of course, this DLC Black Python. That's actually a BB gun. I'm not that rich. But anyway, thought you might want to look at it. This is actually one of my dry fire trainers when I'm waiting for stuff to microwave. All right, let's look at this Colt Detective Special a little bit closer, guys. Now, because it's in the more rare nickel, the front sight is not that easy to pick up on. My friend is letting me fire these. I already have, so I'm not sure if I'll edit that footage in or not. One side of this is much cleaner than the other side, so it can be a shooter. These things will last and last and last. Beautiful lockup, strong lockup timing, great triggers. Again, you see the shrouded, and that's a good, pretty full-length ejector there. For 38, I think that's a full-length ejector. 6 shots. Okay. Now, Colts rotate clockwise, unlike Smith & Wesson and Ruger that rotate counterclockwise. It's a little hard to film this, guys. A very smooth trigger. Single action, very light. This is so much far superior to anything you could get nowadays. Now look at these nice thick stocks. They're short for concealment, but thick even for my hand. I mean, I kind of even bang my middle finger in the trigger guard there on a grab. See the nice Colt medallion there? It's already taken on some fingerprints. Let's see if we can. Nice hammer spur. So the biggest problem with this, because it's nickel, is the front sight's a little hard to pick up in the firing I've done so far, and I hope to do a second part and should be able to paint that with a white base and then orange. That will make a huge difference. This gun was carried for a long time, not fired for a very long time. I don't believe for possibly 30 years, 40 years, but carried for possibly 35-ish years, if not more. So, these things are great. Again, the trigger, I don't really want to dry fire it. You can see where it breaks in single action. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The grips, it had a rubber grip on it, so these grips are mint. These grips are absolutely mint. And again, I like the thickness. It's easier. Again, I'm going to compare it to another rare Smith & Wesson snubby, guys. Lightweight, 6 shots that everyone forgot about. So I'll actually compare them side to side as well. Probably make a few different videos because I think people will like this. Already the thumbs up and blowing up crazy. My top 5 CCW or top 5 CCW carry revolvers. Those are more on the heavier side. This is more on the lighter backup pocket carry work side. This is very thin, guys. People say how much bigger they are, and they're bigger, easier to shoot, but the thickness I think is only 0.008 bigger than the 5-shot J frame. Hopefully I'm keeping this in frame and giving you some nice looks, and you can see the reflection there depending on the light. But what a great revolver, and I see why Jim Cirillo, just firing it once, why Jim Cirillo carried this as a backup. Backup meaning he used it a lot. Fired 6 from the K-frame, and I believe pulled this and let go of quite a few more in multiple gunfights. As well as my friends have been in about 6 gunfights. So hopefully I will be interviewing him as well while his health is going bad in his late 70s. And I have multiple older friends and multiple friends that let me borrow their firearms, and that's really cool. I don't necessarily own everything on my channel, dear government. But you gotta love the Colt medallion. You gotta love how smooth it is. Now it does stack a little bit at the end. It's barely noticeable, but some people talk about that. But again, the grips are better in a lot of ways than the thinner K-frame grips, unless you put a Tyler T grip or a BK grip on it. You will see that in a future video, perhaps. Here, on the thinner grips, you may want these on the Colt Detective 1st and 2nd gen, but not on the 3rd gen, because look, I'm already too thick up top here. So, guys, I hope you will thumbs up, share, subscribe, all that. Really subscribe, help my channel grow. I would greatly appreciate it. Check out my 4.5-hour DVD, Combatives and Street Jiu-Jitsu on BJJ Fanatics. If you carry a deadly force tool, you want to be able to have empty hand skills and control and feel confident. So hopefully you don't have to fire in a defensive gun use, and hopefully just a defensive display or hands-on will take care of the situation. But when you do something like this, I used to write off 38 special, at least from a 2-inch barrel. But with the best loads that you can't really find right now, it'll serve its purpose. This and the other one, old reliable, haven't probably been fired for 30, 40, 50 years, possibly even, and yet everything's still tight and goes bang. And I'll show you the lockup because I didn't do that yet. So just tiny, but I mean, compared to others, it's very, very, very tight. So tight, in fact, I didn't know this, but after they kind of beefed up the SV5 frame later, I think in 1996 or 7, for 1 year, all they did was beef up the top strap and make this 357 Magnum, which that alone, that someone compared them and all I could tell was a little bit of top strap thickness. People say, well, you can't fire plus P. Guys, Everyone on the forums, even the aluminum alloy agents and whatnot, and Smith and Wessons and J frames and K frames, people tested 3, 4, 5,000 rounds of plus P. Sammy spec changed. Plus P nowadays is what the old school standard was. Sammy changed it, I believe, in the mid to late 70s. I'm not saying you would want that to be your target ammo all the time, especially if it was a super minty one. And this probably has pretty good value. It's cleaned up really well. But guys, they can handle it. Even the aluminum frame stuff can handle two cylinders full to pressure check the gun, and then carry with is not gonna destroy. It's not gonna walk anything out. It's not gonna destroy the timing. All these old weapons were fine machines for a more civilized time. As I said, please thumbs up, share, subscribe. It really helps us because the YouTube algorithms don't like gun pro-American type stuff. Give you a little bit better look at the gutter sights. Again, if I get some orange paint on there, that will be better. If anyone has a Colt Magnum carry, please let me know. We'll see what we can work out if you're in the state of Georgia or transfer to an FFL. And guys, I hope you liked it. And make sure to check out the full review of Firing It and also the other upcoming Snubby, and then comparing them side by side at the range. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you on the flip side.